What you looking for?
Oh, nothing. No, nothing. Oh, jeez. Welcome back, DPReview TV viewers. Chris Nichols here from DPReview TV, and today we're going to give you an early look at a full production firmware, Fujifilm X-T30. Very excited to play with this successor to the X-T20. Now, we thought if we're going to explore this brand new stylish camera, why not check out a brand new stylish landmark here in Calgary? So you can see behind us this awesome architecture. We're going to check out the brand new Calgary Central Library. It's going to be a beautiful place to shoot. I'm excited to get my hands on this camera, and I'm excited to get out of this damn polar vortex. Now, one thing I want to point out, Jordan is also shooting today's episode on a Fuji X-T30, and when he does that, I do like to mention a few points. So first off, we'll be talking a little bit quieter because, of course, we're in a library. This is a good test of the camera's preamp. He's boosting my levels up a little bit more than we normally do. On top of that, he's shooting the Eterna profile, and we're going to be testing the continuous autofocusing face detect in video. So keep that in mind. You can see how well it's doing. I always love the X-T10 and 20 bodies. They're a great combination of style, but still very compact and lightweight, and we still get some of the nice mechanical dials and controls that make it very Fuji-like. But you know, the X-T30's had some new changes which are very interesting, and a lot of this comes down from the X-T3 body, which had amazing ergonomics. The grip is a little bit thicker here. They've moved the position of the quick menu button over here to the side, and the back LCD is just a little bit slimmer. I will say that the autofocus locking button though over here is a little bit trickier to push because of this new Q button kind of protruding. We do have an autofocus joystick controller, and you can use that for menus as well, so I find that's very good. I'm not really missing the four-way controller that classic cameras have. This does still have their touch swipe interface where you can customize that for 4 functions. Now, I've never liked really how this swipe works. You can customize the 4 directions, but I find it a little fiddly. That being said, I still feel the X-T30 has plenty of customizability. I've been able to set this camera up the way that I want to use it, and I think for the target audience this is intended for, it's going to be more than enough. With the X-T30, this is a more affordable camera, so I only get the horizontal articulation of the screen like this, which is great if I want to do a horizontal shot. I can certainly frame up very nicely for my angle, but if I want to go do vertical, especially get down low with this wide, I can't really see my screen very well. I kind of miss the XH1, X-T3 flip out screen right now. It'd be great for this situation. I get why it's not on here though because of this pricing. Chosen this nice colorful location to talk about the colors on the Fuji X-T30, and of course, yes, you've heard us talk about JPEG quality on these things. We're not going to get into that, but what I really do like about the X-T30 is that we have all the same color profiles that we would have found on the X-T3. Normally, Fuji has stripped those out of the lower cost cameras, so that's a great plus here. I've got Eterna, I've got Acros, I've got all my color filters, monochrome, Pro Neg, all that kind of stuff, and it's here in the camera, and I can use it for both stills or video. The years they come and go, the races drop in the grave, yet never the love doth so, which here in my heart I have. Wow, Robert and Elizabeth Barrett Browning, very sensitive people. Very sensitive, much like the X-T30's touchscreen now, which has gotten rid of a lot of the lag that we were dealing with on the old Fujis. This thing touches responsively, it's quick, I like to use it. I wouldn't say it's better than anybody else, but they have finally made something competitive. Now this camera actually packs a lot more stuff from the X-T3 than we originally thought. We've got the same sensor, that 26 megapixel APS-C sensor that actually has a very fast scan rate. This is great if you're shooting electronic shutter stills, you're not going to get as much rolling shutter, and of course it's also beneficial for video. It's 160 ISO as its base, you know, dynamic range is maybe not going to be quite as good as some of the other stuff out there, but we're talking marginal. Low light performance tends to be better on some of the other sensors out there, but we're getting great color, we're getting great quality. This is certainly a good sensor. Now, another unexpected benefit with the X-T30, especially considering its lower price point, is it actually has the same processing power as the X-T3. And this really means that it's going to have better video capabilities and also take advantage of Fuji's latest firmware upgrades. For example, this camera has the latest autofocusing firmware right now. It's actually faster than the X-T3, although I'm sure the X-T3 is going to be upgraded shortly. But this also gives the camera a lot of future-proof capability. I mean, if you put this at contrast with cameras like the X-T20 and the X-H1, those cameras have been upgraded as much as possible by Fuji, but there's only so far you can go with limited processing capabilities. So if you're looking for a camera now from Fuji that's going to take you quite a few years into the future, well, that might make the X-T30 a worthy purchase. So I know we've been talking about a lot of features being basically the exact same as X-T3. Where does the price difference really come into play? It's going to be in some of the body features. This camera's not weather sealed, of course, at this price point, but also in the EVF in the back panel. You're looking at just over 1 million dots on the back panel, just over 2.3 million dots in the EVF. Very similar and comparable to other cameras at the same price point. There is one nice improvement though. They've upped the refresh rate on the EVF to 100 frames per second when you put the camera into the boost mode. And again, with any Fuji camera, first thing you do when you get one, put it into the boost mode. So you're looking at purchasing this camera. What other things do you have to consider to see if it's right for you? Well, compared to the X-T3, this camera has a single card slot. That may or may not be a big deal for you. Frames per second shooting is a little bit slower. You're down to 8 frames per second in mechanical shooting mode, but that's still very respectable. It's very fast. And if you go into electronic shutter mode, you have more options. For example, this new X-T30 does feature their sports crop mode. This gives you 30 frames per second shooting rate with electronic shutter, which helps you capture the moment that you want to capture with a tighter crop as well. You'll lose a bit of resolution, you get a tighter frame, but it is an option if you do need to push the camera faster. Now in the X-T30, Fuji has told us they've updated the autofocusing quite a bit. Now we've only had a day to play with it. We really want to test this further as we get more time with the camera. But I will say I've noticed a few things. Now first off, the face and eye detect is actually now working from much farther distances than it has before. You can have actually faces quite small in the frame, and the Fuji's very adept at picking it up. I'm still finding with the Fuji that you have to customize the autofocus like you always would to get the best results. I'm also liking how they've implemented it so that when face detection and eye detection are on, it'll still honor what focusing system you're in before if it loses the face or eye. So for example, if I'm in zone focusing, the face goes away, it'll then go into zone focusing. If I'm in tracking, it'll actually then start tracking the subject. So I do like how they've implemented that. I still find the face detect feature is always going to override what you're doing. So if you want to turn it off, dedicate a button to that. I've dedicated a button to turning it off, so I can do that very quickly on the fly. All right, so I want to talk about my autofocus findings, although again, we've only used this camera for a short period of time. It is version 1 firmware, but we're still finding a few bugs here and there. So we're really going to revisit this and test this camera against some others and see how it really performs. But this is what I'm initially finding. Face detect is tenacious. It's finding faces from long distances, granted. However, we're a little concerned with the accuracy and hit rate we're getting with that face detection at distance. Up close, it seems to work really well. I think if you're shooting somebody in an interview, family members, portraits, it's actually going to do a beautiful job. I would totally rely on it for that. But if I was doing sports or action or something and I was hoping it would track somebody as they run towards me, I actually find that I would disable it and go to zone focusing or tracking and get a better hit rate. So we just got to get the hit rate up, and hopefully that's going to improve in the future. Oh, I'm sorry, I was distracted by the cool book conveyor belt. It's Jordan to talk about video on the X-T30. And the X-T20 was quite a step down in video quality from the X-T2. However, with the X-T30, we're getting the super sampled 4K video up to 30 frames per second right from the X-T3, and it's beautiful. We get a Turner profile with this. We even get the ability to record the F-Log profile. Now, there are a couple major downsides. The biggest one is there's no 4K 60 recording on this, and all of our internal recording is now 8-bit 420. What is really cool though is you can hook this up to an external recorder. You're going to get 10-bit 422 out of it, and at this price point, that's something that you're not really going to find offered anywhere else. One of the things the X-T3 was really great for was its video autofocus, and all of that's carried over to the X-T30. I shot the entire episode with face detect autofocus on. When it lost Chris's face, I just used a zone, and it was very consistent. I found very little hunting in that footage. Did a great job even when the camera was moving. Now, there are some drawbacks compared to the X-T3, however. The biggest one is going to be that we have a 10-minute 4K record on it, so I can't ramble on all day like I typically would. Now, you can get around that if you use an external recorder with this camera,
But the other big one is all we have is a little 2.5mm mic jack on here, so you will have to use an adapter if you want to use a regular 3.5mm jack. That's what I wound up using today, and no headphone jack on there. But what's really cool, this is the first camera I've seen where you can use the USB-C output as a headphone line. I actually really enjoyed recording audio internally, and I didn't think that was going to be the case when I first looked at this camera. If I was looking at a video camera in this price point, I think the X-T30 is probably the first thing I would look at. Most of its real limitations, there's workarounds for it, unless you're really determined to shoot 4K 60 or you need a fully articulating screen to film yourself. But in all other regards, it's a very future-proof, very capable little video camera.
So first off, I want to thank the Calgary Public Library System for letting us shoot in this beautiful building. It's been fantastic. It's a gorgeous architectural masterpiece in here. And I've had a lot of fun shooting the X-T30. So where does this camera really fit in when it comes to its price point? It's by far going to be the most stylish camera at this price level, bar none. But it's not just about looks, right? A camera has to have functionality. I like the image quality, I like the design, I like the lenses, the best APS-C lineup that you're gonna find in a camera system. Now for your money, you're also getting a fully fleshed out autofocusing system, and I would say, you know, for casual stuff, travel, portraits, family shots, it's actually gonna do a really, really good job. If you're coming into wildlife, sports, and action, you're going back to older systems like zone focusing and setting those up, customizing them, and then it'll do a pretty good job. But I think we have to remember that at this price point now, there's some very stiff competition in the autofocusing department. You know, last year in 2018, Jordan and I said that the X-T3 was our favorite camera of the year. For good reason. It's stylish, it's capable, great video features. It was all around a very fun camera to use. And I think what's most important about the X-T30 is everything we like about the X-T3 has been transferred down here. But it's at a more affordable price point. And the downsides like the EVF, the back screen, and the lack of weather sealing are appropriate for that price point. So if you want to get what makes the X-T3 great, but in a smaller, compact, and easier to use body, I think the X-T30 is a great choice. Check it out. Don't forget, subscribe to our channel, let us know what you guys think, leave your comments below, check out Instagram and Twitter. Please let us know how you feel about this brand new camera. Otherwise, we'll see you very soon with more reviews to come.